Hey everyone, so it's finally time for some more progress on this little 421 Unimog. Now there's actually been quite a bit of progress on this over the last couple of weeks, but the last time you saw it I was getting the undercarriage, the engine, transmission and all that stuff ready to be painted. Now that turned out to be quite a bit more extensive than I hoped and ended up taking a really long time. And I had to take more things apart and borrow tools and just a bunch of things. But I got all that done and it's actually sitting in here right now and it's already been painted. So let me show you what color I went with. It's a matte brownish red. Okay, I'm just kidding. This is just the primer that's gone on here now. I gave the whole thing a coat of primer. Then I went in and reattached all the brake lines and the hoses and wires and all that stuff that had to stay on the frame. And then I gave the whole thing another coat of primer. So this thing is ready for some paint. So let me show you what colors I've actually got. So I'm using these Esbjerg paints. I actually think their name is EFA paint now. But anyway, I'm not sponsored or anything, but I actually think this stuff is just really good. I've used it several times in the past, and it's just very easy to work with. It's one component, so I don't have to mix things, and it's just really durable stuff. Because this is actually purpose-made machine paint. Now, for the actual colors, because it's machine paint, I'm kind of limited to tractor colors or machine colors. So a lot of people were suggesting a gray color, and I actually really like that idea because, well, now that I have another Unimog, I can kind of go a little more wild with that and then keep this one a little closer to just a standard Unimog. And with that, the gray color, it is a little more exciting than just plain black. And the gray one that I went with is a Massey Ferguson charcoal gray. So this is going to be the kind of dark gray that is on the bottom half of newer Ferguson tractors. Now a lot of people were also suggesting a two-tone kind of paint job. And that got me thinking that on the newer Unimogs, and really just newer Mercedes trucks, the engine is usually painted in a light green color. And I found this in their catalog called Hanover Green, so even the name is German, so I'm just gonna pretend that this is kind of a Mercedes color. And I'm gonna paint the engine and the transmission with this. I think that's gonna look really good. I should probably also just say, for those wondering, why am I doing this myself? Why don't I get a professional to paint this? Well, main reason is it would be incredibly expensive because this is actually a very time-consuming kind of paint job. It's not like a body where you just have a surface to spray over. With this thing you have to get into every single angle of every single component, top, bottom, every side, and it just takes a really long time. So this would be a really expensive paint job, and this is just the frame and the engine. Then there's all the other loose components and the body itself, so I'm not gonna spend that kind of money on something that is essentially just my tractor. And also with that, this is a machine that I'm gonna use, so I don't need that kind of quality professional finish on a paint job. I don't want to have to worry about the paint if I'm going a little close to some trees or if I'm spilling cement or something on it. This is a working truck, so I need a working paint job that I can just touch up. Anyway, enough talking, let's get some paint on this. Check it out. This looks really good. I'm really happy with how this turned out. These colors look really good on here. Now I did have to go and refit the old wheels and some slightly harder springs so I could move it in here, because there's a lot more room for reassembly in here. And also I'd like to keep all the painting in the other room. But this color combination is really good. It looks like it was meant to be this way. Now I did go in and just quickly spray paint a few parts because that was really just the easiest way to do that. But so far so good. Now I just have all these other parts that are scattered all over the room. They all need cleaning and painting too. And I have a handful of new parts that have to go back on this, so let's get to it. So I just noticed something as I was cleaning off this air tank. This has actually had two big patches welded into it. Right here is one big patch, and on the other side is an even bigger and actually pretty badly welded patch. That's just a really bad idea on a pressure tank, so yeah, this thing is scrap. Conveniently, this has a nice new air tank, so I'm just gonna steal that. This one's probably gonna get something completely different anyway. You know, now that we're at it, let's just steal a fuel tank as well. Because this one has the original mounting points, and it's just in better shape overall. That was kind of hot. Alright, so now that everything's looking so pretty, I'm actually getting a little excited to put this thing back together. So I really want to put these springs back on because it feels kind of sketchy to just have it on these vertical wooden blocks. But before I do that, I have to get the biggest piece mounted, that is the framing for the bed. Because the rear mounting bolts of that are actually the same ones that come through and hold the rear springs in place. This is all a bit awkward to try and get on all at once, because the rear or the inner spring is not really supported on anything, so you can't just lower it down to hold it in place. You kind of have to hold it up to where it's supposed to be and then get it in place there. And I think we got it. And you have to get all those holders and all that stuff in there as well. So yeah, it's a little awkward, but it's possible. There we go. So on a Unimog, the frame is actually part of the suspension. It's twisting along with the axles, so that means that everything that bolts to the frame has to be able to move along with it. That also means that before I bolt down that frame for the bed, I have to level out these two frame rails just to make sure it's not under tension when it's sitting completely straight. That's the front. There. Now we should have this thing level. These are also a bit awkward because you have to get all these blocks and bolts and stuff inside the springs. This is kind of dumb. Come on. No. Ah. Nice. Now I finally have this thing secured back on its own springs. That feels a lot more secure to work on, so now I guess we just need everything else. I finally have most of the big components back on this thing. But at this point I can tell that I'm gonna have to order a few extra things before I can continue to reassemble this. So I think we're just gonna end this one here because this video has already been dragging out for long enough. And the reason it's taken a while to get this video done is because, well, all of this stuff has just taken a really long time. All this grinding and cleaning and prepping and painting, it's all just really time consuming and really tedious work. And along the way I just kept finding more and more things that had to be disassembled and things that had to be welded and broken bolts that had to be removed. So it all just adds up to quite a lot of hours. And I don't know if I've already mentioned, but I'm not over here working on this thing every day. It's just every now and then when I have some time. So some of these big projects, they can easily drag out for several weeks, if not months. Also, I should probably just say, some of you may have noticed that I just painted over a bunch of things, like for instance the grease fittings. And that's really because they're gonna get replaced anyway, so it was just much easier to leave that stuff in and paint right over it. But I am replacing them and re-greasing things as I go along. I just gotta say, I'm actually really liking how this thing is looking so far. Now thank you all for watching, I really appreciate it. It actually makes it a lot more fun to do projects like this when all of you guys are following along, so thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the next one.